morning, Facebook. Here today, looking at Psalms chapter 49, looking at verses 18 through 20. And now you see in these three verses here, you see the psalmist, he's speaking about all those who are choosing to trust in themselves, what they can do, what they have in their lives, what they can attain in and of their own strength. You see the psalmist here, he's speaking about that kind of lifestyle and that kind of mindset. You see what he says in verse 18, you see that person, they love only themselves. They love only the things that they can profit in and of themselves. They love only the things that can bring gain to themselves, that can bring gain to their families. You see, their whole goal is only to see themselves prosper, because that in and of themselves, that is all they care about. And then you see the result. You see the psalmist here in verse 19, he's stating the result. You see, these people, they're self-centered by nature, and they show their very self-centeredness by the ways that they live their life. They show their self-centeredness by the way they act towards others. And he's saying in verse 19, you see the result of that kind of lifestyle, the result of that kind of mindset, when a person chooses to put on it and to follow it in their life. You see, he's saying how things will progressively get worse and worse when we choose to pursue after ourselves, when we choose to pursue after the things that we think we want, when we choose to pursue after the things that we think will solve every one of our issues, when we choose to look in our own strength, thinking we are sufficient to handle every problem that arises in our lives, whether it's with our families, whether it's with our jobs, whether it's a personal problem that we're going through, when we think that we can solve it in our own strength. You see how verse 19 applies to us. You see how at that moment things get progressively harder and harder and harder in our lives, for the very reason that just like that man that this psalmist is talking about, who had this self-centered mindset, us ourselves, we are putting on that self-centered mindset because we are pushing Christ away, telling him that though you've got us through the wilderness countless times, this one issue that we are going through, only our strength is sufficient to get us through this, and only you will back us up. You will bring us further away from where we need to be and what we want in our lives. And you see what he says in verse 20. You see the only gain that will truly happen. We think that we'll get better. We think that we'll gain something out of it. But you see, the psalmist explains what the true gain will be in verse 20. The true gain will be only more pain, only more sorrow, only more loneliness, and there will be no profit in our lives. But us as Christians, we start our days, we do a true honest examination of our hearts. What is truly filling our hearts? Is it a love for self? Is that what drives us? Or is there a love for Christ that drives us and makes us willing to look away from ourselves?